Welcome to the Divorce Allies podcast, a podcast and video series where we dive into all things divorce, processes, and emotions with solutions. We are a team of financial professionals, divorce mortgage planning specialists, parenting, and relationship coaches. We cover all the areas of the divorce process from financial to emotional well-being. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about redefining your identity and just really navigating the journey of rediscovering who you are outside of marriage and divorce. And Kristen and I decided that this is a very relevant topic. We're going into 2025, a new year. We're going to have some new resolutions. And a lot of our members in the Divorce Allies are kind of at this, these crossroads of, I've been in this marriage and this divorce for years now. I'm ready to break free. I'm ready to become my own person again. And just really, we have these conversations every week in our live sessions, but we wanted to bring it to our podcast because it's a very, relevant, yes, but it's so important to not be labeled by your past marriage and even this divorce process, because we know sometimes this process can be not only years long, but take a toll on your emotions and your mental well-being. So we're going to just have the next 20-30 minutes talk about some ways you can do this and how to really become the person you want to be in 2025. So Kristen, welcome. I just want to start right away. And can you tell us a little bit about your personal rediscovery and how maybe some challenges when you were going through your divorce, coming out of your divorce, what issues did you have and how did you kind of navigate redefining Kristen Terry?
Yeah, I think that's one of the longer journeys after divorce is it feels like the rug has been pulled out right from under you because the life you envision, and that is the hardest part, actually, I would say, is the hardest part was the life that I'd envisioned not being there anymore. The person that you'd planned your life with, and you're an us. The moment you get married, you're an us, and you're no longer just a me anymore. And your thinking goes to, well, if I'm going to do this, then let me let my husband know, let me let my wife know. So your whole thought process includes someone else.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you have to remove that person from your natural thought habits. So it's not an easy process to go through. And you do ask that question, who am I now? I know I asked that question so much I challenged everything I thought I knew about myself. In the dating scene, in hobbies, I isolated for a long time. I went out a lot. I partied. I kind of challenged everything, my belief systems, all of it. And I think that is all part of the process of rediscovering yourself and challenging. It's a challenge over and over and over again. I don't think it happens just overnight. There's not one thing that you can do that's going to help you rediscover yourself. It's not like one activity. Oh, go do this and you'll rediscover yourself. No,
Right.
It's over and over again. It's trying new things. It's failing again. It's making decisions and doing things out of your comfort zone that maybe the other person used to do for you and realizing you can do that. So yeah, the journey is about rediscovering, not always necessarily becoming someone entirely new. Something that I tapped into a lot is my inner child. And I think post-divorce is a really good time to tap into your inner child. And that's my first little tidbit of advice is, what did you love doing as a child? What was something you enjoyed as a child? So I'll use myself as an example. I loved attention. I wanted to be a model. I modeled all my underwear, everything for my family all the time. And I let that go due to various reasons. But post-divorce, I decided, hey, let me try it out again. And it's something I love doing, not necessarily for a career, but it's something I love doing just because it's fun. You get into a different character. And I'm watching now how the fact that I just opened myself up to that, how opportunities are coming. I've got one of my second paid photo shoots coming up next week for a lifestyle shoot. And that's exciting. That's like I'm rediscovering parts that I suppressed, rediscovering parts that I lost maybe through the marriage. because marriage is compromise. So, you kind of, maybe your spouse didn't want you modeling for some reasons because they didn't want other people looking at you. Whatever the reason or the thing, we do automatically compromise or put things aside, our own wants aside, to keep our partner happy.
Yeah. And a lot of our members in our community, they got married quite young, early 20s. So they pretty much went from a child to a teenager to all of a sudden now I'm a wife and probably a mother at the same time. So I've kind of put all of my, and I'm, dreams and aspirations, I'm generalizing, but a lot of the times, like you're saying, it's compromise. Well, now we're a unit, we're a family. I have to make decisions for us as a whole, not just me anymore. And divorce gives you that beauty that now it is all about you. Of course, if you have children, you're still going to be the parent, but the decisions, the dinners you get to eat, the activities you're doing on Saturday, the hobbies, like you're saying, you get to now do shoots, you get to model. I mean, that is the most, going back to your childhood play. Like you're saying, I love that advice. What did you love doing as a kid? Like for me, someone who has never been married, never been divorced, I'm at a constant doing only things that fulfill me, which is a balance too, right? Because getting into relationships, it's like, well, I don't want to do that. And I'm an only child. So it's very much like what I do is what I do. And that's just been my mentality for so long. But it is the biggest transition, I think, is being this unit. And then all of a sudden it's just you. And so my next question is, what's the transition of like defining parenting and redefining parenthood when you go from having two of those parents in a household to now it's just you and the kids?
Yeah, before I touch that question, I want to add a tip kind of following in it, which will flow in nicely. But something I like to, what you need to ask yourself, and something I used to ask myself is, who am I? Because we identify as wife, we identify as daughter, mother, sister. We identify as these things, but these things can be taken away from us, right? So to find rediscovering yourself is really boiling it back to your morals, your values, what ignites you inside, things that can't be taken away from you. So who am I? I'm kind. I'm generous. Those things cannot be taken away from you. As every parent's nightmare, being a mother can be taken away from you. Being a wife can be taken away from you. Being a teacher can be taken away from you. Our identities are not the things we do and the relationships we are, but who we are. So rediscovering yourself and really asking that, who am I, is boiling down to the characteristics you want to be. I am funny, or I am adventurous. These are things people cannot take away from you. So who am I? Think about qualities that cannot be taken away. And those are the ones that you want to develop. And that's who you are at your core. But the shift so my personal circumstances, I've kind of from the start always been a single mother with my ex-husband working away. So I have fairly been that role already, but it does shift. It does. I've watched my mom and a lot of my clients, when you're so used to someone else doing things, it doesn't even cross your mind to do these things. It's an afterthought. And then you build that fear or that aversion of having to take the car to get serviced, or call the plumber, or take the dogs to get groomed. Whatever the things were in your everyday life, those are small things that change, and you can learn any of it. So don't get too wrapped up in the things that need to be done. I don't think the things that we need to do necessarily help with our identity in the our chores and our responsibilities. That's also you're not your responsibilities either. And being, whether you're a co-parent, married parent, single parent, who am I? What values am I? What character am I bringing across? And that's for me, that's kind of what helped me a lot, is sticking to not tying my identity to my roles in life, but more my character.
Yeah. And I think that in addition to this practice of writing down all the things you can't change, what are things that you've always wanted to be that maybe your spouse or your situation dulled that you never were able to? I mean, like, for example, I know a lot of the people in our community, they want to be more adventurous. They want to be more spontaneous. But because their spouse was typically a bit controlling, they were never given that ability. So not only what are things that you already are, but start writing down some things that you want to be and you want to aspire to be. And of course, hopefully it's all attainable things, not, be as crazy as you want with the goals and aspirations, but also things that you can do tangibly to start making the step to changing that. Like we always say, pick a day, pick an intuition day that you're just going to wake up and you're just going to see where the wind takes you. Go to a breakfast place you've never been before. Go to a park that you've never been before. Maybe you're driving and something tells you to turn right or to turn left, and just see where the day takes you. So if you want to become more adventurous, maybe start doing those intuitive days a little bit more frequently. Or if you want to become more, I don't know, take a step back and be more of a scholar, start taking courses, free online courses. We always talk about the amount of free education is unreal. You can learn essentially a whole new career by just YouTube and TikTok these days. So if that's something that you want to aspire to become, go search a new webinar, a new education, a new course, whatever. So Kristen, do you have more suggestions on how maybe people can step outside of their comfort zone and redefining something that hasn't been defined already in the past? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we have spoken about this in the past. Is a question I always ask myself is the highest version, that person that I'm striving to be, how would she react? What would she be doing? What are her habits? How would she respond? Instead of how the version of me now, I have a clear vision. And I know you did a workshop on this, but vision boarding, create a vision board, get clear on who you want to be, how you want to show up. What is that highest version of yourself? If that highest version of yourself, I'll use a silly example. My ex always used to say, you can do anything, just don't sing. But I love singing. And not that I want to become a singer, but I've since then had so many people say, oh my gosh, you actually sing really nicely, because it held me back.
Sure.
In the marriage, I kind of would sing a little bit softer and stuff because I was like, okay, well, I'll just sing to myself then. Clearly, it's annoying. But since then, I'm like, I don't care. I enjoy it. And since then, I've kind of defeated that limiting belief or that comment that was made through. So it's definitely getting rid of the limiting beliefs and who. There's a beautiful saying as well. We are not who other people think we are, and we are not who we think we are. We are who we think other people think we are. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So it's not who other people think we are, and it's not who we think we are. We are who we think other people think we are.
That cuts deep.
It does, right? Because how you think people perceive you is how you're going to show up.
Yeah.
So rediscovering you and re-identifying or rediscovering your identity, have a look at what you think people think of you. And going through divorce, we often think, oh, everyone's going to have so much to say. And there goes the woman with the failed marriage. She couldn't keep it together. Or we think these things, and that's how we're going to show up. Our energy is going to show up like that as well. So we need to be thinking of, instead of those thoughts, we need to be thinking, who do we want to be? Let's show up like that person. Let's show up like the one we want to show up. So vision boarding is one amazing way, is getting clear. We talk about this all the time. So I'm going to give you a gap to talk about it.
Yes. I just wanted to add about the vision boarding, because my role in the Divorce Allies is really the marketing, the small business, starting your side hustle and helping distract you with something that you can build post-divorce and build through this redefined version of yourself. So how I like to start all of these ideas is create this vision board of what your brand and what your company is going to look like. But when we talk about vision boarding on a personal level, yes, include the pictures, include the quotes, include the mantras, but focus on the emotions they're evoking instead of just the physical picture. So if it's a sunset, beautiful, but why? Is it because it's calm? Is it because it's reminds you of nostalgia, of a feeling that you had when you were a child? All of those emotions is what you should focus on instead of just the picture itself. And so I think, in addition to what you're saying, Kristen, it's not only becoming the version that you want to be, but what emotions does that person have every day when they wake up? Are they excited and eager to tackle the day? Are they wise and mysterious? It's like not only just doing the physical things, but taking it the step further of like truly what feelings and emotions does this person experience, my like ideal self. And I mean, that's something we talk about it. We do it ourselves every single day. It's not like it does eventually when you start rewiring your brain, it becomes habit, but you have to make it a habit first. And so it's like every day when I wake up, when my eyes see the day, it's like, what day am I going to have? I'm going to have a day where I get things done, where everything that is a challenge turns into gratitude. I mean, it's just like it's a constant cycle. So, and I think, I don't know, what do you think, Kristen? Should we constantly be redefining ourselves to be better, or is that exhaustive, or is it a positive thing? Because I think I'm constantly trying not to redefine, but just like the constant evolution of myself gets exhausting, but I think that's what I want. And I always
Yeah.
see like, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
You're asking, I'm going to go a little bit into, it might be woo-woo for people, but astrology, I'm a typical Scorpio, the sign of transformation. So I have people that have seen me 3 years ago, 5 years, 10 years. Every time, if people haven't seen me for a while, they don't recognize me. I am that, like, people never recognize me. And I would say that is one of my strongest points is I'm always transforming into something different, not always necessarily better, because through divorce, after divorce, I made terrible decisions. So it's not about doing it perfectly. It's about just doing it, doing whatever it is. If you feel an urge to try something, to do something, to say something, to start a new hobby, try it. It might not be for you, but at least you've learned something in that already. Is, you know what, I always thought I wanted to do dance classes, and then I tried it and I really didn't enjoy it. But I kind of had this thing of doing art classes and I'm really good. So it's about failing and picking up again and trying all these different things. Another tip I ended up doing almost as well with the characteristics. I'm sure for a lot of our listeners, they're depending on how old you are when you're getting divorced, you may never want to get married again. But if you are one of the younger viewers, you may be terrified of making the same mistake again. And this is where we're talking about that energy. So I very early on in the days wrote about how I wanted to show up in my next relationship, not just in the world, but in my next relationship. And that's what rediscovering. It's your career, it's your health, it's your finances, it's your social life, it's your love life. And in my love life perspective, I wrote how I want to show up in my next relationship and what I didn't want. And then I wrote a list of the person that I want to attract, because again, that vibration that we're at, we need to elevate to feeling those feelings, like the vision board, to feel how one of the things was I wanted more sunsets in my life and more romance and more, you know,
Yeah.
and before that person came around, or before this person comes around, what am I doing? I often do chasing sunset days. I'm like, cool, it's a chasing sunset afternoon. And I go chase my own sunsets and I buy my own flowers. So you've got to, like attracts like. So whatever you're wanting from life, you need to be able to give it to yourself. And that's what rediscovering and re-identifying yourself is what makes me feel all the good feels. Am I really happy in my career? Am I healthy enough? Am I happy with my health? Am I happy with my finances? Am I happy with my social life? You can't sit at home and say, oh, after divorce, I don't have any friends. I lost all the friends in divorce. but you don't go and join a new hiking club or a book club to make new friends, because the best place to meet and re-identify yourself is in things that you love doing.
Yeah.
So I really do recommend doing that and getting clear, writing down really those characteristics. Like for me, it was someone generous, someone ambitious, someone, and these are things that I like in myself and that I'm striving for, but also for my future and in friends. And, I want ambitious friends. I want kind
Yeah.
and generous friends. So whatever you really do want, focusing on that and not focusing on what you don't want. Because if we focus on what we don't want, we're going to get more of what we don't want. So re-identifying yourself, focus on what you do want, and say yes to everything that is that and no to anything that's not.
That's a great reminder for myself. But I think there are two kind of like roadblocks or just things that happen with this whole journey. The first is you have to completely, like, maybe there will be instant gratification, but a lot of the time there won't be. This is a project. This is something that you have to build in to everything. Just like what Kristen was saying, is say no to the things that are not going to fulfill you. So, like, for example, I am still saying yes to things that I know that's not necessarily the energy or the frequency I want to be at, but I'm still saying yes because it's like, well, that's going to be my social event for the weekend, so I might as well say yes, because the other option is to be by myself, and that doesn't sound fun either. But having the trust of, if I say no to that, something will fill it that's even better. So there's a lot of discipline that comes to it, I think. And there is no like, oh, if you do it for 6 months, you'll get the dream life you always wanted. But it's just the positive journey that I think comes with it. And it's like, at the end of the day, being proud of yourself and proud of the person you're becoming. I think that's the ultimate reward. And I think, kind of going off of it, the second roadblock is when you start redefining yourself, you're going to have to say goodbye to some people, or maybe not goodbye, but just maybe not be around those people as much anymore. If your redefined self is super adventurous, spontaneous, sorry, but your old friends who just want to stay at home
And
every
drink.
day and drink might not be the option anymore. You can still be friends with them, but you're not going to get that, whatever fills your cup at the end. It's not going to be them anymore. So I think there's sacrifice that comes to it. Me, as I'm talking to myself essentially during this podcast, but I think that that's, personally in my life, and then also a lot of our members are kind of struggling with that as well, is like, well, once I'm divorced, I don't know who my group is anymore. I don't know who my community is anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons we decided to build the Divorce Allies, is not only we're helping you right now, but eventually there will be this community of women who all have the same mindset, who all want to do similar things, that can eventually, the goal is to one day we can all meet in person and build stories and memories together. But that's exactly kind of what we're saying, is you might have to say bye to some of your past, but that's the beauty of growing, right? Did you have to say bye to some relationships during your transformation?
100%. I went through pretty much about a year after my divorce. My best friend of 15 years, that relationship also came to an end. So it was a double whammy of two of my closest people to me that I grieved in that space. But I do look back, and I think most of my clients that look back as well, and most women and men that have gone through divorce, that look back and say, I see the lesson in it. And if we can, in the moment, no matter how difficult a friendship breakup or a family distancing, no matter how difficult it seems at the time and how heart-sore it is, we generally know when it runs its course, and we need to be able to let go, not hold on for the sake of holding on, even to things that are not as healthy for us. Like you say, I've watched over the last 5 years, I used to party and drink and all those things, but I've noticed that those friendships have fizzled out, and so many of my friends don't drink anymore. And these people feel more aligned. So there's that whole saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. And as you rediscover yourself and re-identify yourself, you're going to find that your tribe is going to shift. Your perspective is going to shift because you've just gone through a huge grief. Divorce is grief. It is a huge loss to the person that you thought you married. So that grief process really has you reevaluate everything, and being able to let go. Yet again, like Mel Robbins says, let go. The people that don't want to stay after divorce, let them go. I had another friendship that, due to the divorce, and the husbands being friends, we were pregnant at the same time and we kind of lost contact. But the universe wouldn't let that friendship go. Our kids go to the same reading club, to the same play therapist. We kept bumping into each other, and that friendship is just blossoming again. So what is for you will not pass you.
Yeah.
And in this post-divorce phase, the whole re-identifying, we can give you a lot of tips and a lot of things, but fail, pick yourself up, try again, try something new, let go of that control, and just enjoy the process of figuring out more things about yourself. I dove into attachment styles and trauma bonds and limiting beliefs and feminine and masculine energy and what my needs and my wants are, my Enneagram and my birth charts. I wanted to know as much information as I could about my personality traits or my numerology. I tried it all. But I can tell you now where I'm sitting. If it weren't for my divorce, I would never have gone into all of those things, and I wouldn't have such a good understanding of who I am now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a process, but it's so worth it.
It's so worth it. And you have two single females telling you that it's so worth it. And I'm on my journey with, I don't know really what the next year, 2 or 3 brings, but it's constant making that choice of what emotion do I want to feel every day? What goals do I have for me personally and career-wise and relationship-wise? How can I just pick something that fulfills that every single day? And I think also just to mention it a little bit, but like you're grieving your past relationship, you're grieving friendships, you're grieving the relationship you thought you had. I think you're also going to grieve your past self a little bit too. Like, well, how comfortable was it to be that person? How easy was it to just be that person? And none of this is easy. If it was, then we'd live in a paradise, but it's the intentional choice that you want to be better and you want to be fulfilled. And that's all we have, that it is worth it and it's beautiful. And don't be scared of it. I don't think, like, trust the timing, like you said.
Yeah. What is for me will not pass me has been a mantra of mine. I like control. I've loved control.
Yeah.
I am a control, and I've had to learn little bit by little bit to let go of control and really just let things be that are outside of my circle of control.
Mhm.
It was a huge learning thing. Not that that's why I got divorced, because I was too controlling, but but I want some questions that you can be asking yourself is, what parts of your identity feel true? So what do you know about yourself? So that you don't have to start off with a blank canvas, right? You don't have to start completely fresh and scrap everything you know about yourself. But asking yourself what you do know about yourself, what is true, what feels outdated. So just putting a column, what feels true and what feels outdated, and write down those things. That's going to give you a beautiful picture of where you can change and what you don't need to change, and where you feel secure in certain aspects. Because I think if we wipe the whole canvas completely blank, we'd be scrambling all over the place. So there are, of course, elements to who you already are. And that's a nice thing to ground yourself on, is who do you already know that you are? Everything else is up for debate, and see it as an exciting experiment, exciting challenge for yourself.
Well, and kind of as we just wrap this up, I think going back to the very beginning when you said what were your interests as a child? I think that that's a great starting point, because children are the most innocent, untouched, just beauty seeping. So what made you so happy? What brought you joy as a little girl, as a little boy? And maybe start there and just think, it's never too old to have fun and play and be a child and bring all of that just like untouched happiness. So I think that's a great point. And yeah, it's start small. We're not asking you to go to the extremes, but yeah, Kristen, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Something that just kind of quickly came to mind is I read this book, May Musk's book, A Woman Makes a Plan. And I mean, she's Elon Musk's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of your feelings of him, she wrote this one part in the book, and she said each of her 3 children were interested in what they have made huge successes in their lives. They were all interested in these things before the age of 7 already. She said Elon was already taking apart computers. Her other son was already cooking in the kitchen. He has a huge franchise of farm to table restaurants, and her daughter was writing plays and stuff, and now she does screenplays. So there's so much beauty and magic in what we did as a kid. So it is a really great place to start.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm going to keep thinking about that too. Even though as a child, I would play secretary. I would just type on a keyboard in my room. And before I even knew how to write letters, I would just like scribble. So I guess I'm doing what I thought was play. So that's good.
Yeah. You like the office zone. You like the
I do. Well, if you're interested in having more of these types of conversations, just very real, holistic, we have these type of conversations every single week live. You can tell us about your specific divorce situation. We give you real solutions. We cover really everything you need in this whole process. So if you're interested, headed to thedivorceallies.com, see what resources and memberships may be best for you. And if not, please keep listening to our minisodes. We love to provide any type of education that we can. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.